Easier to stand on, right?
Yep.
Alright. Recording. What is up, guys? Welcome to Steel City Grom. I'm Derek.
I'm Nathaniel.
And this is our YouTube channel, media, community, everything.
Yes, sir.
So today I want to explain a little bit about our process, about getting these things, and where we've been so far. Start at let's start at our the permit stuff, DMV. Nate, you looked a little bit more into that process.
Yeah, obviously state to state, but over 18, if you have your driver's license, you can just take a little quick test like the driver's permit, and in and out of there probably like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
In total. Actually getting to the DMV was a little bit stressful because of the whole virus shutdown stuff.
Right. But this is how easy it was. We literally studied, Nate studied a little bit more on his app. I studied maybe like 2 times, and it was a last minute thing. We got to the DMV 15 minutes before it was about to close.
No, was it even that? I feel like we got there within the final minutes, because it was truly a buzzer beater moment.
Yeah, it was. I might as well just fit insurance in there as well. Again, wasn't hard to get insurance. You're gonna look online and find quotes for as low as $70 a year and stuff. I mean, you can get it motorcycle insurance that low. Ours happen to be right over $300 a year. I mean, that's with the proper, our comfortable coverage that we want. You can find insurance. Oh, there goes that. Shoot, give me 1 second. So now we're back. So yeah, insurance, permit stuff, easy. That shouldn't be the deciding factor for you.
Should we tell them what insurance company we have, just in case they're wondering or curious, or?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so we both have Erie Insurance, and again, I think it was only a few dollars apart, as our monthly payment is too, as we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
But I think mine is $308 a year or something. So again, something nice about the Groms. Don't have to worry about super pricey insurance with it being a bigger engine and stuff.
Yep.
So definitely a small factor.
Yep. So to move on to the next section of things in terms of getting these machines right here, I would say we really just kind of planned it out. And during this pandemic, that was a big issue for us. We were just waiting to be able to purchase. We already talk to a dealership and kind of line things up, and that was the first step, is finding out when we can buy them.
Right.
The next step was buying it before anyone else did. Now this may sound like an issue now, because we have ours, but what are they gonna do?
Right.
So you can definitely find Groms, and I'm sure most people have one, but you can definitely find them, new models, but we're not getting, or so I've heard, we're not getting new models of these until the fall. That was one limiting thing too, just to be sure we picked them up. But I'm sure they'll be around. You just gotta look. It'll get a little harder to find maybe, but yeah. And then in terms of going in to pay for these, we might as well just list that on the screen right now. Yeah, you can see the breakdown of our prices, what we paid out the door. That seems to be the average. I've seen other states. We're in PA here. Other people have been able to pay, maybe as low as 36, 35. For our area, 38 is about the average. And I got a quote from another place around here that was 42. So you just got to watch out.
Definitely take the time to find a dealership that isn't hassling you either.
Right. So in terms of buying the bikes, we ended up actually buying them together at the same time. Dealership was great. There's some footage of the dealership in there, but all that was awesome. They're really helpful. Then we pretty much went out and rode them for the first time.
Yeah, I think our first stop was right to the gas station to get some food.
Yep.
Dealership was nice enough to top them off for us.
Yeah.
Which I did see not every dealership does. So.
Right.
Thank you, West Hills Honda.
Yeah. One thing though that I have to say. But luckily I checked it. There's a problem with pit bikes. The chains being too loose or too tight. And I just was oh, let me check the chain real quick. and it happened to be way too tight. Like it was
no,
firm. We did ride them back from the dealership like that. You know, everything happened to be fine, and we were in break-in process, which we'll jump to in a second. But yeah, we did that. Came home, adjusted the chain. So check your chains.
Check your chains.
Check your chains.
Check your chains.
And then things, but we might as well jump into the break-in process. I'm sure a lot of people are curious because people hear tons of things about engine break-ins, whether you should let it idle and do heat cycles or you should run it hard, you know?
Right.
And what I would say to that, and what we did, is 6 to 7 heat cycles. Now these heat cycles were done, like the first one was done on really low RPMs. We probably didn't go above 6. I remember when we were talking initially.
I think the first few were like below 6, like no higher than 6, and then we kind of stepped it up to like, okay, now like 7,000 RPMs, and then like I think
every like 2 heat cycles, we pretty much did that.
Right.
And then when we hit almost 300 miles, not exactly 300. I know Honda's manual calls for 300 break-in and the 600 first change.
Yeah, it's the
but
first change.
We'll get to that again. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, we just kind of stepped it up a little bit every time, just easy on the motor the entire time through. After we hit almost 300 miles, we took the bikes, both of them, and we changed the oil, cleaned the oil spinner, and the oil
screen.
It's not a filter, it's a screen. And that's it's really not hard to do, guys. Like, that's one thing that we found out.
Yeah, you got to take it apart a bit more than like your experience with like, you know, pit bikes and stuff. So just changing out like the oil filter real quick. We were a little bit like hesitant at first whether we should like dig in, open up the casing and stuff of the engine. But you really kind of do just have to jump into it. It's really not that bad. It's more time consuming.
If you watch a YouTube tutorial on how to clean your oil spinner, it's very, very doable at home. You just gotta make sure you keep it clean.
And we also pulled ours actually inside of our house whenever we did it.
I would recommend
just
a garage.
Being safe.
I'd recommend a garage or a basement in terms of outside. I mean, you could do it outside. I've seen people do it outside, but
again, just to be safe with little dust particles or anything.
Yeah, it depends how comfortable you feel doing it where you're at. Yeah. So after that was done, and this is continuing the break-in a little bit. This is the very end of it. We took them out, and we didn't rip on them immediately, but we went up to full throttle and off, and full throttle and off. We gave it another heat cycle, and then we pretty much went out and ripped them, and that was after 300 miles. And I started doing wheelies and stuff like that. That goes to now, actually, the wheelie mod, which is another thing I did.
Also, just real quick, kind of settling, obviously we did more of a soft break-in compared to like the hard break-in.
Yeah.
Our bikes, they run extremely well. They absolutely flawless, like no complaints with them. I've seen the same with people like Grommer, if you've seen him open up his bike that he rode basically coast to coast in and just did like a hard break-in. So I don't think it matters too much, at least with like the Honda small engines, how you break them in.
That's a perk, like that. Even if you do, like, say you're not perfect on the break-in, or someone takes it out and rips it, or you get one from the dealership that has 50 miles on it. Honestly, it doesn't seem that big of a deal, because if you go watch Photogrammer's video on his coast to coast engine breakdown, he did a really hard break-in, and the engine still seemed to be fine, like perfect, pretty much.
Now, one thing I would say is with like the softer break-in, from what I've just seen around like the internet, it does seem like it is a bit more like safe with the bike. Everything looks a bit more clean the first time you open it, definitely than whenever you do a hard break-in. But as performance power-wise, I don't think you're really losing or gaining anything extra by choosing one way over another. Right.
So with that being said, do some heat cycles, maybe just go a little bit lower RPMs. And I'd do like 6 or 7 heat cycles, and we ended up going through a total of like 1.5, 2 tanks of fuel. So just for reference, and yeah. So I see a bunch of stuff on break-in that people go into in forums and everything. I've broken in not only these but dirt bikes before, even little nitro RC car motors, even cars. Yeah, up to cars. So I've broken in like many of engines, and I understand the process, and that's what we did. And yeah, it works. So moving on from that, now we can talk about the first mod we did with the bikes after having them for a little bit. So you can take it away on that, Nate.
So if you look at a Grom, it has a big, ugly, scooter-looking rear fender.
Yeah.
Now, personally, when I first got the bike, I knew that was like, you know, often the complaint of people like, oh, the rear fender doesn't look that good, and which I agree it doesn't.
Mhm.
But I was actually surprised. I did like it better than I thought I would, just completely stock.
That is very true. Like the bike stock is 100% usable,
Mhm.
and that's what they made it, and it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look bad.
Right.
I thought it was going to look bad. It doesn't look bad. So
Yeah. So getting into the first mod was the fender eliminator. With that, he actually found a model online from Thingiverse. So I have a bunch of 3D printers and some background and experience in that. So we went ahead and gave it a little try. So that is currently what we are running on the bikes. Now we're still working on more of our own because we did see some problems in kind of all of the models that are just out there for the fender eliminators.
yeah,
So we
still-
took it in-house to CAD design a new one,
yeah.
and we're working on that one right now.
It's really cool because not only are we taking apart from Thingiverse, but the things that are wrong with it, and we're doing our own in-house testing
Right.
to get this part perfect. And
And then we'd like to share that with you
we'd
guys
like
too,
to share
eventually.
that with you guys after we do testing on it, further testing, and make it good. Another thing is, guys, that tons of fender eliminator kits that are sold. I don't know if they all cost this much, but a lot of them are like 50 to 100,
No,
150.
I don't think I've seen any like little tiny bent piece of metal that they sell as like some sort of bracket for the Grom is upwards of $50, whether it's
Yeah.
for like the license plate, the lights, anything like that. So
Yeah,
with 3D printing, if you have a 3D printer, you can do it yourself in like a variety of different types of filaments and stuff, but also probably in the future we'll offer it too, just some like in-house printing to ship out to you guys who can't really use like as nice of materials as other people can.
we got you covered. That's basically our first mod. It happened to be something we could make in-house because of what you have and what we kind of do. Since all that's out of the way, getting the bikes, and that was such a fun process, guys. I can't stress that enough. Getting a Grom might be one of the most fun things to do. Because if you do what we did, we spent like weeks just like researching these things just for fun, finding like different parts, finding different mods, and we already know like kind of an idea how we want ours to look and everything. And then actually coming upon getting them, like, and going out to the dealership, that was just such a fun day to go out and ride them home and spend a whole day with your
It
Grom.
really was. That was a day I'm not gonna forget for sure.
And yeah, with that out of the way, the break-in and our first mod, first maintenance, I guess we can just talk about what we've been. So we did go out for our first kind of little photo shoot.
So if you're not following Steel City Grom on Instagram, do it now.
Follow Steel City Grom on Instagram. That is where we post daily stories. I can guarantee you a daily story. And that's the whole thing going on to that. We're here in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh happens to be one of the cities that does not have a set Grom community. We've looked on Facebook. We've looked all over the place. And there's not no Groms here, or no...
Right.
Mini-motos.
There's still mini motos around, but it's mostly, it seems like the groups and stuff on Facebook or all the little communities are more like selling or like parts or bikes themselves or
Right.
like little things like that. Whereas like there's nothing out there really yet for actually organizing like a Grom group up and stuff. So
Right. And that's what we are starting here in Pittsburgh, Grom community and YouTube and the media to keep everybody intact. That's everyone. That's not just Pittsburgh, that's worldwide. And that's another thing, it's not just us stuck to Pittsburgh. That's just like the roots. We're going for like the whole community.
right. So everybody get a Grom.
Get a Grom. Yeah. And then we can flood the streets with a bunch of Groms look like Skittles. Yeah. Anything else to really say? They're great bikes, simply put. And that's about it. Until we spend more time, we've only scratched the surface with riding these things, but every single time it is an experience. But yeah, go ahead and give our first subscribers, if
give us a subscribe now. Hit like right now. Stay tuned for more.
That's about it. Subscribe if you want to. Don't subscribe if you don't. But you have to like the video. That's the only caveat.
Yeah. And you can't subscribe, but you have to turn on post notifications.
Right. So anyway, thank you for watching if you made it this far. I know it was kind of a longer first video.